Good morning, everyone. So during this lockdown, there's been a lot of discussion on how many of us have been able to hear a lot more bird calls around us than we are used to. And the reason for this is twofold. One is, of course, that there's less noise pollution around us that masks these natural sounds every day. And the other reason is that perhaps we have more time to be observant of the creatures around us. And so let's tune in to the world of birdsong and sharpen your ears and your pencils. I'll start with a brief introduction into the terms that we use when we are talking about birdsong. If I can get my slide to change. My PPT stuck. Technical issues, please wait. Yes. Right. So birds communicate using both sight, as in their colored and brightly colored feathers, as well as sound, right? We know that birds call a lot. And the advantage of using sound is that it travels over longer distances through thick vegetation and even in the dark. Yes. And song, the word bird song is usually used in the context of breeding when males sing to attract females. But we now know that a lot of females of many species of birds also sing to attract males. And bird calls are usually shorter sounds that are produced throughout the year by everyone, males, females, chicks, and everybody. And here are some examples. Can you think of some examples of bird calls versus songs? While you do that, I will tell you about a few that I know. So there are alarm calls that signal threat, such as in the presence of a predator. There are begging calls that chicks produce to induce their parents to feed them and to signal that they are hungry. And then there are contact calls that groups of related birds, say there's a family of birds and they are spread out in the vegetation, in the bush. They want to keep track of each other. They will produce contact calls to be in touch with each other. Sort of like, hello, I'm here, where are you? And so on. And how do birds produce sound? Do we know? Birds have a syrinx. Like we have the larynx, the syrinx is slightly different from the larynx, but the mechanical processes are similar. The difference is that the bird syrinx has two trachea or two tubes, two airways. And so birds can produce two different sounds at the same time. And this is something really cool. And if you want to explore this further, there is a very nice animation by the Cornell lab, and this link will be given to you at the end as well, where you can explore how these birds produce sound using the syrinx. And here I'd also like to mention that birds have a lot of air sacs in their body, 9 to be precise, and their bones are also hollow. And both these structures help them to be lightweight in order to fly. So we know that how do birds produce sound, but why do they sing? Yeah, we also know now that birds process in the brain and learn sound in similar ways as humans. So we know that humans can hear sounds of the frequencies from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, roughly speaking. As you grow older, your high frequency hearing drops down. And birds can also hear sounds at similar frequencies. And these are processed in the brain in similar pathways as those in humans. Here, I'm going to play you a short video to see how bird babies and human babies learn to produce sound in similar ways.
This is a bird that has learned a single syllable song, A, and then has to learn a new two-syllable song, A, B, A, B. The bird learns the two transitions necessary for the new song, A, B, and B, A, in a stepwise manner. First, the bird sings. At a later stage, the bird learns one of the transitions, BA, so it can only sing B at the start of the song bout. At a later stage, the bird learns the other transitions, AB, and then it can sing the correct song. We see the same stepwise process in...
Oops. What happened here? Let me go back. I think my laptop is struggling with so many things happening.
Yeah, if you could go back and play the animation again.
Yes, it's stuck. Just a minute, please. It happened on its own. I'm just going to stop share and start share again. Just a minute.
Yeah, sure. While we wait, folks, you can tell us if you're hearing any bird calls right now from where you are.
Hello, can you see the screen? Maybe I'll stick to outside of slideshow so that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, can see the screen.
I'll just play the animation again.
Okay.
Fine.
This is a bird that has learned a single syllable song, A, and then has to learn a new two-syllable song, A, B. The bird learns the two transitions necessary for the new song, A, B, and BA, in a stepwise manner. First, the bird sings. At a later stage, the bird learns one of the transitions, BA, so it can only sing B at the start of the song bout. At a later stage, the bird learns the other transitions, AB, and then it can sing the correct song. We see the same stepwise process in babbling development of human infants. At an early stage, the infant does a repetitive sequence of syllables. At a later stage, the infant learns new transitions to other syllables and therefore inserts the new syllables at the edges, the start or the end of utterances. At a later stage, when more transitions are learned, for example, in this case, not only the transition de, di, but also the transition di, de, the infant can insert the new syllable de in the middle of utterances and perform more diverse sequences.
Right, so that's how babies in humans and bird chicks learn to produce sound in similar ways. So let's think about why do birds sing? And to understand that, well, when do birds sing? They don't sing throughout the year, they don't sing throughout the day. They usually sing in the early morning, and this is known as the dawn chorus. We still don't really understand why and how this happens, and there is complete cacophony of birds singing together at break of dawn. And they also sing much more in their breeding season than the rest of the year. And in India, this is usually the beginning of summer, February, March. And why do they sing? Birds sing to defend their territories, their homes, from other birds of their own species. They sing to attract mates, and they perhaps sing because they feel like it. Let's listen to some bird songs. I think these are common birds that all of us have around us, at least in India. And here's the purple sunbird. This is the white-cheeked barbet. We have red-whiskered bulbuls. Tailor birds. As you might already know, tailor birds are called thus because they make these beautiful nests that they stitch from the different leaves of plants that they nest in. Then we have the magpie robin. Spotted doves.
Couldn't hear the magpie robin, Samira.
I'll play it again. I'll play the magpie robin again. And of course, we have crows. And many of you in the beginning, before we started the show, were talking about how they know the quail. So here's the quail calling for you. I don't know if as children you played with the quail by talking back to it and imitating its call. I certainly did. And that's why I think many of us are familiar with the quail. And you may already know, but the quail is a very interesting bird because it lays its eggs in the nests of crows, and it doesn't make its own nest. It's called a brood parasite. And what's even more interesting is that, you know, there's a very common saying that, oh, her voice is like a quail. But in fact, it's the male of the species that has that mellifluous singing. The female in this species doesn't sing much. So after having listened to these few bird calls and started learning to use our ears, how do we actually observe bird song and study it? The most important tool is observation, using our eyes and ears. When is the bird singing? Where is it singing? From the top of a tree or from the ground, near the ground? And to whom is it singing? Is it singing to its partner? Is it singing to its chicks or to somebody else altogether? And as Abhisheka was saying, when I started doing my bird song research, I actually had to work with a tape recorder and a very basic equipment. Now the equipment has really advanced. Technology has improved. And I'll come back to this point very soon because it's relevant to how the change in these technologies have enabled us to increase, you know, really everyone is involved in recording bird calls these days. Yeah. So we have a recorder and different types of microphones that we take with us into the field to record bird songs. But that's not enough. After you do those recordings, you come back home and you have different softwares that allow you to visualize the sound, to see the sound. And the one that is most often used for bird song is something called a raven that is developed by the Cornell University. So now that you're all experts on listening to bird song, are you experts in looking at bird song? It's time to train our eyes and ears. This is the most important tool for studying bird song. It's called a spectrogram or a sonogram, and it's just think of it as an image of sound. Okay, it's actually a graph of time versus frequency in kilohertz, and I'm going to play you this sequence in this spectrogram of a magpie robin's call, and I want you to try and follow these black marks on the spectrogram and see if you can listen to how the sound changes with what you see on the screen. Are you ready? Here we go. Any good? I'm going to play that one more time. Right now, remember, frequencies that are low are on the lower end of this graph, and frequencies that are higher will be higher up in the graph. Each single black spot is an individual note produced by the bird, and as you can see, they have very unique shapes, right? They're not the same. So these shapes are very important in identifying the different species and the different types of calls that each species make. So I'm going to play this magpie robin call once more. Right. So let's get into it. Let's play a game of match the following, right? You will need a pen and paper to keep score. I'm going to play different sounds, and I would like you to choose the spectrogram image that you think matches the sound best. And remember, there are low frequencies and higher frequencies, and there are short notes and longer notes, and the shape of the note is very important. So if for those who don't know much about frequencies, I'll give you a live demo. So this is a low frequency. This is a higher frequency. This is a higher frequency. Yeah. So the higher frequencies are on the top. Listen to the sound carefully. The first two species, I will go through each sound now. And later on, you just make a note of what you think matches the song best. So here we have the call of a large-billed crow. Okay, I'll just play that. I'll play it once more. Now, please make a note of which of these 5 images do you think best matches the call of this crow. And if the images are a little gray and fuzzy, it's because I was recording with a tape recorder in my early years in the field, and the tape has a mechanical whirring sound that is in the background of all recordings that you can't remove at all. And I know some of you in this talk might have never even seen the tape. So yeah, that's something that you can think about later. In the meantime, have you been able to look at these 5 images and make a note of which do you think matches the call of the crow the best? So let's play each of these calls and see if you scored the right answer. This wasn't it. That's it. The right answer is number 2. Let's look at others so that you get an idea of how to see sound. Don't worry if some of the sounds are not clear to you right now. They will get clearer as we go ahead further with this game. And number 5. Right. So Let's move on to the next species. This is a crested tree swift call. I'll play each call twice and then time to note down which of these images do you think matches the call that you just heard. Shall we listen to each of these and see which one do you think was the right one? That's number 1. That's number 2. Number 3. And number 4 is the right answer. Number 5. Yeah. So as you can see, as I explained earlier, all of these notes look very different, right? And have long black lines because they are longer notes. Some are very short and brief because they are short notes. Some are high in frequency and some are low in frequency. Okay, and that's how we try to train our ears to match what we see in the spectrograms. Now for the next series of calls, I won't play all the 5 calls right now. I'll just play the call that is the test call, and I request you to note down whatever you think is the right answer, and then we can go back and see how you all scored. So I'm playing the call of the banded bay cuckoo. Once more. Note down which spectrogram do you think matches this call. Moving on. Here's the plum-headed parakeet. Once more. Look at all the images and see which one do you think matches this call. The next one is the rufous tree pie. Remember, it's the number of notes that you hear, the number of sounds, the frequency that the sound is at. Moving on, here's the common hawk cuckoo, or brain fever bird, or papiha. The next one is a shikra, which is a raptor. I'll play it once more. We go on to the next one, a white-throated kingfisher. no, there's a lot of variation in these recordings because you can never get as close to the bird as you want. Some birds are really shy, and therefore their calls you may not be able to record as clearly as you'd like. But it takes a lot of patience and a lot of perseverance to get a good, clean recording of even the most common species of birds. So I'll play this call once more. This one is easy, right? I think you all got this one. Here's a yellow-browed bulbul. Let's move on to the common Tailor bird's call. I'll play it once more. Two more to go. How have you done so far? Here's a serpent eagle. I'll play that call once more. You might have, if you might hear a buzzing sound in the call, and that's because there was a honeybee that refused to move away from my microphone when I was making this recording. Okay, which image do you think matches this call? Make a note. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And the last one in this game is a woodpecker, the greater flameback. Which image do you think matches this one? This is easy. Come on. I'll play the call once more. Done? Now, shall we go back and see which are the right answers? Here's the banded baked cuckoo. I'll play all the calls here and you can see how well you scored. Now you have to score yourself. So in this case, it's number 5, which is the right answer. Banded bay cuckoo. What about the plum-headed parakeet? Is it number 1? Don't think so. Number 2? Yes. If you got number 2, that's the right answer. Let's listen to the others. No. The next was tree pie. Which one do you think is the right one here? That's not it. That's not it either. 3 is the right answer. And 4 and 5 sound like this. Common hawk cuckoo. Can you do that? If you can whistle. Let's see which is the right answer here. That's not it. It's number 2. That's our banded bay cuckoo from earlier. Let's see which matches the shikara's call. It's not number 1. The right answer is number 2. I'm playing all so that you get used to seeing and hearing different kinds of sounds in the spectrograms. So, Kingfisher. Do you think it's 1 or 2? Let's listen to 1. Nope, it's not 1. It's not 1. Then it has to be 2, right? There are in this long drawn out call. And 2 is the right answer. Here's the yellow-browed bulbul. You might even be able to hear the squirrel's alarm calling outside my window. But try to focus on this. That's another struggle, to focus on a particular species when there's so many different sounds around you. How do birds do it? Think about that. It's the yellow-browed bulbul. That's not the right. So in this case, the right answer is number 4. There are only 2 notes in the bulbul's, yellow-browed bulbul's call. Yeah. There are 2 notes in the call in number 5 as well, but as I play them now, you will hear they are very different. And have a different shape. The Tailor bird. Not number 1. So brain fever bird. So the right answer for the Tailor bird is number 5. Serpent eagle. Is it number 1? Nope. Number 2. No. Number 3. Nope. It's number 4. And number 5 is something we've heard before. The right answer is number 4. And coming to the last one, the greater flameback woodpecker. Can it be this one? This looks very complicated. Maybe it's this. Nope. Is it this one? No. This one? Nope. So the right answer in this case is number 4, a woodpecker's long trill. Listen to number 5. Relatively high frequency call. Okay, so how did you all do? If you scored well, that's brilliant. And if you didn't, don't worry, it takes a lot of practice. If you'd like to play around with spectrograms and looking at sound further, you can try out some free apps that are available on Google Play. And one is called Spectral Audio Analyzer. The other is called Spectrogram. Here are the snapshots of these. Right. So that's the nitty-gritty of techniques to study bird song, right? But there's also other really interesting things to know about bird song, such as dialects and duets. Just like in human languages, birds also have dialects. So a magpie robin outside my house in Bangalore won't sound the same as a magpie robin outside, say, somebody's house in Delhi, because birds have dialects as their songs change with geographical distance, right? So same species but in different places may not sound identical because their songs have evolved to be slightly different. Just as the Kannada that is spoken in Bangalore is not at all the same as the Kannada that is spoken in North Karnataka, say Dharwad or Hubli, right? And birds also perform duets. Like we have duets in music where two individuals match their singing with each other. We have duets in many species of birds. And now that you're all experts at looking at sound and viewing spectrograms, let me play you a spectrogram of an Indian scimitar babbler duet. Did you hear that? I'll play it once more. It sounds like one bird, right? And even from the spectrogram, it looks like one bird. But actually, the first 3 notes are by one bird, and the other 3 notes, which are slightly higher in frequency and have a different shape in the spectrogram, are by the other individual. Now, why do birds perform these complicated acoustic duets? Research has shown that it helps to form pair bonds between the individuals. Usually, these are mated pairs that stay together for at least one season, and it forms stronger pair bonds if they duet more often. They're able to defend their territories better if they duet more often. So, a lot of species have duets. There's something else than interesting that birds do, and this is mimicry. Now, you might be familiar with birds that imitate human speech in captivity, such as parakeets and African grey parrots. Perhaps you've seen these videos on YouTube. But did you know that in their natural state in the wild, these species, the parakeets and the parrots, don't imitate human speech ever? These birds in cages learn to talk like humans because that's the sound that they hear most often around them. And they don't hear other parakeets or other parrots around them. So have a lot of learning capabilities. So they just pick up whatever sound they hear. But what about the species like lyrebirds and others that do mimic naturally in the wild, right? And in India, perhaps a very common and good mimic is our magpie robin. The male mimics a lot of different species in his own song, including them in his own song during the breeding season. And this is thought to attract more females. So if a male can imitate more species and imitate them more accurately, then he might be more attractive to females. And We also have the species that I spent a decade pursuing in the BRT hills, which is the greater racket-tailed rongo. And they are known to be excellent mimics, and I'll play you a short video. So what's it mimicking? The first calls are like a crow, right? So in this video, the racket-tailed rongo is mimicking a crow, but it's also making some other sound, right? Which is its own sound. And that's the thing, to be able to identify mimicry, even in the Oriental magpie robin outside your house, you first need to be familiar with all the other calls of the other species so that you can say, ah, yes, here is the magpie robin mimicking a bulbul. Otherwise, it just sounds like magpie robin sound to you, right? So mimicry is a very complex phenomenon that we are just beginning to understand. And before I end, I just wanted to say that these racket-tailed rongos not only mimic to attract mates and defend their territories, but they also spend a lot of time in what are known as mixed species flocks or mixed hunting parties or bird waves, right? And here is a beautiful illustration where you can see a lot of different species foraging together in a patch of forest. There are mixed species flocks in urban areas too. If you spend time observing them, you can see groups of birds perhaps foraging for insects or looking for food in the same tree or in the same location. And the racket-tailed rongos mimic a lot of these birds in these that are present in these mixed species flocks. And my research indicates that it has something to do, the mimicry is like speaking the language of the other birds. If you're familiar with how a Kannadiga meets a Kannadiga in another country or in another state, immediately they form a bond and they start talking in Kannada. Same with Marathi, Gujarati, Bengali, any language, whatever be your mother tongue, all over the world. Speaking in the same tongue creates an affiliative bond. And I believe that the racket-tailed rongo's mimicry of the other species in these mixed species flocks serves to create a bond between each other. Racket-tails are also known to be really bold, and they possibly mob predators when they come near the flock. But they also steal a lot of food, a lot of insects from these other birds that are foraging about in the undergrowth and in the trees. So there are these complex dynamics going on in these mixed species flocks in the forest, in the wild, and outside your homes. And as to quote my colleagues, my colleague Hari Sridhar and Preeti Bangal, who study these mixed species flocks, friendship and cooperation lie at the flock's heart. And the drongo's harassment is tolerated because it speaks the language of the other birds. And also, as I end here, I would like you to think about the names of these different birds that you see outside your house in your own mother tongue, be it the barbet, be it a crow, or be it the quail, right? And thank you for being here, and thank you for listening in. I'd end with a few links that the organizers will also share with you in the chat box. If you're interested in exploring these, you can go to all these websites, the Cornell Bird Academy. There's an app, Merlin, which you can use to help you ID birds. There are these early bird interactive posters with bird calls. There's Zenocanto, where you can listen to different bird call recordings from all over the world, and the same with the Macaulay Library. And the last bit, you can listen to birdsong, but please do not play back your recordings to the birds around you, because it's like jamming their signal. It's really disturbing and disruptive to these birds. Thank you. I hope you were not really waiting for this moment to arrive and that the talk was ending, but I'm ready to take questions now.
Samira, there were a couple of questions when you were giving the talk.
Yeah.
So one was that are there any bird sounds or frequencies that humans cannot hear?
Very few, actually. Most of the frequencies that we can hear, the birds can hear. They can hear a little more than us, but actually it's very similar.
Okay. And another one was that why do birds mimic sounds? Why do birds mimic calls?
Yeah, so I mentioned a few of the reasons when I was talking about mimicry. Seems that mimicry has evolved because it birds, it's like a novel sound, it's like showing off. Birds that can mimic more species and mimic more accurately are more attractive to each other in the breeding season. But as I was mentioning, there's also other really complex things happening where it's not just to do with mating. As you saw in the greater rackettail rongo, mimicry can play a very complex role where it might create an affiliative bond. So when the rackettail is mimicking a jungle babbler or it's mimicking a woodpecker, maybe it's also saying, you know I speak your language. So yeah, we don't understand these answers. We don't know the answers to these questions fully yet, but whatever I know, I can try to share.
Okay. Param is asking if there is a correlation between the bird's size and the frequency of its call.
Yeah, hi Param, thanks. That's a really good question. Yes, there is a relationship, not just for birds, but overall for all creatures. The bigger a bird, the lower frequencies it can produce. Very small birds cannot produce very low frequencies. So there is a body size limitation to the range of sounds that you can produce.
All right. Sagarika is asking, can we record on phone and use the software to identify? So,
Yeah, you need practice. Yeah, you can go around using those two apps that I had mentioned and looking at the recordings of different species. Obviously, you need to identify which species you're recording before you actually go ahead. So you record a red whiskered bulbul and you look at the shape of its calls, and then you keep on recording red whiskered bulbuls and looking at the calls, and then you after a while you can see what types of calls it looks like, but it takes practice. But I think it's a fun exercise because the birds produce many different kinds of calls, and just recording them once or twice you may not be able to capture the entire repertoire of these bird calls.
okay. Deepak is asking, we know that there's dawn chorus. We also observe chorus at dusk. Is it similar or different?
Yeah, it's similar. It doesn't happen everywhere. It happens only in certain areas. I'm not sure it happens in temperate areas. I do know that it happens in tropical regions. And yeah, we have no idea. There's some hypotheses, some ideas which say that the dusk chorus is to kind of, just a kind of chatter before roosting, before settling down, before into the night. But we nobody studied these, and we don't really know why they happen. There is a dusk chorus. It's not as extensive and loud as the dawn chorus. Yeah.
Okay, Chandra is asking, Samira, can you also mimic bird calls by now?
Nope, I don't have a syrinx, sadly, only a larynx.
But yeah, you could do the common hawk cuckoo quite well.
Well, I think anybody who can whistle can do those whistle calls, but other types of bird calls are very hard to imitate. Whistle calls are easy. Yeah.
Okay, Arun Kumar is asking, why do dialects occur? I had noticed that the red whiskered bulbul sings different in Bangalore and in Pune. Why do
Yeah.
dialects occur?
So dialects occur due to something called cultural evolution. it's how the same way as dialects occur in humans, in human languages, similar. We groups of individuals, either be it humans or birds, kind of over time develop their culture of language, right? And there are slight variations that everybody in a particular area sticks to, and as you go further away they change, because the groups change, the individuals change, and new notes are added or new words are added, in different areas. And in some areas, it might be geographical barriers for birds, such as a large river or mountains that result in, isolated populations, and therefore those birds can't hear each other across those barriers, and those also result in dialects. But often there are no barriers, and it's just cultural evolution. It's how language evolves over time. There's a lot of give and take. It's the same way that bird song evolves into dialects.
Okay. Uh, Nikita is asking, do migratory birds learn the dialect from many places?
They often do, yes. In fact, there is a very famous study on these migratory warblers that migrate from Europe to Africa, and when they come back to Europe, the individuals, you can tell where they've migrated to if you know the dialects of the birds that they're mimicking from Africa.
Wow, that's super interesting. So we actually have a lot of questions. So Garima, do prompt me when we can stop. I'll just
I
keep
think we
going.
can. I think we
Yeah.
can continue with a few more
Yeah.
questions. That's all.
Yeah. Cool. So Param is asking, can you share some tips and tricks to mentally mark and remember a bird call to a particular bird? I think you've already talked about it, but maybe you can repeat that. Some tips
Yeah,
and tricks to mentally mark and remember a bird call.
actually, there are no tips and tricks other than to, just be really observant and listen over and over and over again. And if you have, if you're using an app like a Spectrogram, then of course it's easier because you have a visual aid to what you're listening to. But other than that, if you're just listening and you need tips and tricks, it's your brain's got all the tips and tricks. All you need to do is just train it. Yeah.
Okay, so practice is key and perseverance is key.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sagarika is asking, any study how noise pollution impacts bird calls?
There are lots of studies. It does impact them. Birds can't hear each other, obviously, because their calls are masked due to other louder, usually man-made sounds like traffic or industrial activities. So they do have problems, but like all wild animals, like all animals, they are learning to adapt. Whether the adaptation is good or bad, we don't know yet. Many of them have started changing the frequencies at which they call to try to be, fit in within the frequencies that the external noise pollution is not present. They're also trying to be louder, but to change these frequencies and to be louder is very costly. It requires a lot of energy, and it's very costly for these birds. So in the long term, it's stressful, and it can also, as I spoke about dialects earlier, being restricted to trying to call louder or calling in a certain frequency bandwidth results in a loss of cultural evolution. uh, yeah, so lots of cultural evolution and increased physical stress for birds is definitely there.
Okay, Kirtana is asking, so do these birds of different dialects but the same species mate?
Yes, they can mate different dialects and different, in fact, there is some interspecies hybridization also that happens at a low level, but very rare. But different dialects, yes, absolutely. Sometimes females like novelty, as I had mentioned, and when they hear, or males like novelty in females that sing, and when they hear something new, a slightly different dialect, oh, here's an outsider, they might be more attracted. So yes, definitely dialects can mate. And then that depends on how the dialect evolves, whether they continue to stay in the same population or they move to a different area with the new combination of songs.
All right. Rakesh Kumar is asking, why does the magpie robin sing almost the whole day, usually?
Oh yeah, that's right now in the breeding season. It's really desperate to find a mate. Usually in Feb to March, April, May, depending on where you are in India, they do sing throughout the day. Yeah, but if you listen to it the rest of the year, I don't think it will be calling throughout the day. Yeah.
All right. Do birds communicate with other bird species as well?
Yes, they do. Birds of all species can understand the alarm calls of each other very well, and of other non-bird species as well. For example, squirrel alarm calls at a snake or a cat, or a predator or a raptor, like an eagle. They can definitely. And but we know very little about this. Other than alarm calls, we don't understand these interspecies communications very well. Forget interspecies communication, we are barely beginning to scratch the surface of intraspecies. We barely know what they are saying to each other, rather than across species.
All right. Okay. Let me scout through some more messages. Uh, uh, Hemant is asking, do birds hear what we hear, and do they process what they hear like we do?
Yeah, I answered that question twice, once in the slideshow and
Oh
in the
yeah,
beginning of the questions also.
yeah.
They do. Yeah, it's pretty similar.
Okay. Can you show an example of same bird species with variation in their calls with respect to what it intends to communicate?
Oh,
For example, and then they've given the example also. For example, a tailor bird making a dawn call, breeding call, territorial call, etc.
right. I mean, in this slideshow, I don't have any such example, but uh, yeah, there are. You can do it yourself. You can sit and listen to the Tailor bird in different times of the day and throughout the year, and you will hear it makes many different calls. And if you're also observing it, you will see that when it's with other Tailor birds, it's making particular calls. When it's in the breeding season, it's making maybe a different call. When it's talking to its chicks, it's making a different call. So yeah, you can do it. It's not that hard.
In some birds, it's difficult to place where the sound is exactly coming from. Is that deliberate?
Yes, this is especially true for chicks or young birds, and they try to call at frequencies that are difficult to locate so that predators can't locate them. But usually you can. It's only, a certain type of call, usually alarm calls that you can't locate.
Okay, Arun Kumar is saying that my daughter is insisting on asking, can people understand what birds are saying?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if everybody can. Maybe some people can, those who spend a lot of time with birds.
Okay, I'm
Okay,
just,
I think Nisha, shall
yeah.
we?
Yeah, because there's still some 90 messages that are pending for me to read. So, yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to, sorry, I just wanted to
Yeah,
say that if you want to know more, you can look up my articles on Jungle Lodges Explore, JLR Explore, and there's a lot of information online as well that might answer all these people's questions.
and a lot of people have been asking to share the PowerPoint presentation. So unfortunately, we won't be able to share the PPT, but we have gone live on Facebook. So the recording of this session will be there. You can visit our page on Facebook and view whichever parts you missed. And we will also upload a recorded version on YouTube, where we'll also share all the links that Samira has mentioned. So you can follow us for updates as to when the videos will be uploaded, and you can also view the previous sessions that Early Bird has done. So our Facebook page is called Early Bird, and you can search for it by typing @Early Bird India. I'm just putting that down in the chat box. We're also on Instagram, and we're also on Twitter. So you can follow us there for updates.
So with that, I think we'll close this session now. Thank you once again, Samira, for a fascinating insight into birdsong. And thank you to all of you for joining. Do stay tuned for our subsequent sessions. This is a series, and this was the 8th session in our series of talks for beginner birders on different aspects of birds. So thank you so much, everyone, and see you next time.